Worm is a web serial by J.C. McCrae, also known as Wildbow. You can read Worm in its original format by visiting parahumans.wordpress.com or donate to Wildbow's Patreon at patreon.com/wildbow. This story isn't intended for young or sensitive readers. Readers who are on the lookout for trigger warnings are advised to give Worm a pass. For a complete list, check the description for all of Worm's trigger warnings.
And welcome back to another episode of Dissecting Worm with myself, Jacob, and co-host Allan. Welcome,
Well,
Allan.
hello.
And I'm realizing as I was listening to that beautiful intro music play that we need a proper intro joke or tag or something. Book club, we've got a few, right? So we need to put them here.
Feel a little empty there at the beginning.
Yeah.
I think we were all anticipating a good morning Brockton Bay, but
that's for book club.
yeah, I know. This one you got to come up like, all
Yeah, we
right,
don't want
guys,
to.
Chuck. Should we just yell, "Take that, you worm"?
Take that, you worm.
Take that, you worm. Welcome to the podcast.
Welcome to the podcast. I like it. That'll be our. Yeah.
We'll workshop it. It's good for now.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, Michael, feed us ideas. We'll use them.
I will be thinking about it. Yes. I must say I am a bit nervous for this episode.
As you should be.
No. This
No.
episode is going to be a nice, easy.
Let me tell you right now, I wrote down for some of the single interludes more than I've written for some entire arcs. Michael has every reason to be worried.
This is the reason. Yes, exactly. It took us 2.5 hours to record the first part of this.
And let me tell you, it's going to take about 2.5 hours to record this one.
and I know you all know that it took 2.5 hours. You listening, because you of course listened to the entire 2.5 hour book club portion of this, and
Brave
you've been
souls.
waiting, just anticipating another 2.5 hours of breaking this down.
I
over
remember
here.
when the
So,
Brockton,
thank you.
when the Slaughterhouse 9 came into our fair city, and the first thing they did when they went recruiting is they said, "Hey, you got to listen to Brockton Bay Book Club episode, the Arc 11 interlude section for the Brockton Bay Book Club." And let me tell you right now, that cleared out like 5 of the competitors right there. Couldn't take it. Some say they went mad.
Yeah, we may be mad by the end of this, but let's go on. We got this.
We'll get through it. Let's get started. If the title of the podcast didn't give it away, we're covering the back half of Arc 11, which are the interlude chapters. So that's 11.A through H, the end of the arc there. Discussing pretty much the main intro to the members of the Slaughterhouse 9 and each of their attempts at recruiting various individuals. There is a lot to talk about here. I think maybe where we should start is whether or not we would want to treat this as a full episode, or if we would be moving these interludes and kind of dropping them into other episodes, either as cold opens or as endings or things like that. I think that might be a good place to start.
Yeah. A lot of stuff to work through here. First things first, there's the option of just doing it as a straightforward episode. Vignette by vignette. The second option as I was thinking, was you do it one episode, but all of them are interspersed within each other. I think there are some that are good all the way through to do, but others you can bounce back and forth. Might be a little bit hard to keep track of that many, but maybe you wrap some up midway. The third option is that you do 2 episodes, 4 and 4 for each, with ones that have like similar themes that you can run through, and do those interspersed, with each other. But yeah, I hadn't really thought about. I thought slightly about dispersing them amongst other episodes in the season, but I don't necessarily know where you do that. Like,
so my thought on that, and this might be one of our many pins that we put into things. My thought on that, and this would entirely depend on how we end up sort of constructing season 2 as a whole. So that's why we probably would come back to this idea at the end. But I think it'd be really fun to do them all as either cold opens or as sort of like post credits, not true post credits, like final scene of the episodes. Because if you have like theoretically, let's say a 10 episode season, if you have 8 of those episodes start like, and each one ends with one of these interludes, sort of building the suspense of the Slaughterhouse-9, you could really build to a pretty fun finale that way.
True. But that's true. Here's
again, it's going to depend. It'll depend a lot on how we end up breaking the season down, though.
Yeah, because already, we're just, as we're talking for continuity's sake, season 1 opens with arc 9, season 2 sticking with arc 10. We're not breaking these up, as far as I remember, into multiple episodes because they're pretty short.
Yeah, not at this point.
So didn't we? Wait, can you say that again? Are we finishing our? Season 1? I think 1
Allan,
through 9.
Allan meant episode 1, episode 2, but said season. It was a tad confusing, but
sorry,
we understood him.
Doing our season 2 of our TV show.
Right.
Episode 1 of season 2 with arc 9.
Yep.
Episode 2, arc 10.
Falling.
Episode 3, probably arc 11. Now,
got it. Yes.
The next arc is a direct engagement with some Slaughterhouse-9 members.
Right.
So it's not all of them. It's just Mannequin. But following that is when we've got to deal with all of them. We're going to be in confrontations with all of them. But they are going to be kind of split up because we're going to be fighting different people. It's just they're going to be all over the place. There's no avoiding that.
It's not really an intro. It's more of a.
That being said,
Yeah.
Between 12, 11, 10, and 9, that gives us 4 episodes to work with. In those 4 episodes, you could do a cold open as one of them, and a post-credit scene as another. Yeah. So
let's for the sake of just tonight for our episode for Dissecting Worm, let's treat it as like a standalone episode, just so we can kind of talk about how we would want to adapt the individual chapters.
Yeah.
And then there's leave room to kind of break that apart.
Yeah, because we'll go episode by episode, because for the most part, or not episode by episode, chapter by chapter, I think, and just talk about how we would translate those, and then we can come back and talk about how to put them in a bigger picture.
Sounds good.
I do have some thoughts about the vibes of each one and which episodes they would pair well with in terms of theme. So we can circle back around to that. There's a lot to work with here.
Yeah, definitely. If we did opt for a single episode, then the one kind of main change I would suggest would be to build on pretty much what we assume is kind of happening anyway, but just sort of strengthen the idea, which is that all of these are happening simultaneously. which the only thing that really changes is kind of we'd just have to rewrite probably not having Oni Lee and Hatchet Face with gosh, what's her name?
With
Bonesaw. Thank you.
I think you can do it as one whole episode, and this is what took me honestly the most brain power was charting out. A lot of these have either one point of like where it's just the conversation, like with Theo, it's just a conversation with Jack. That's all that happens.
Mhm.
But others of these have like 3 parts to them. The biggest example that spans, the chronology of this episode would be Amy. We have Amy finding, reading the letter, which kind of happens before everything. The fight, with Bonesaw happens after a lot of these, but, possibly during some others. And then ultimately, going out and getting caught up and dealing with Vicky, way after everything.
Mhm.
And I feel like that is, those that could literally be the start of the episode, move into everything else, have, Bonesaw happen, midway near the end, and then end the episode with the conversation with Vicky. And then you just intersperse the others. Like, I think Collins would do really well if there was a lot more buildup with talking to Dragon and being hunted by Mannequin. So, like, I think that one actually needs to be spread out more.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Having it back to back, I don't know how well that works. It's just one scene, kind of.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, there's so many ways you could do this because I like those ideas too. My thought was just give it there's a word for it, and I forget what it's called, where what's happening on screen is happening in real time. Like the show 24, essentially, right? Each hour-long episode covers an hour of in show time, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so starting to give it a bit of urgency, starting with the Coil and Dina, which is chapter, what is that? Chapter F, point F.
Is it Dina? Did we determine Dina? I thought it was Dinah. Like dinosaur.
Oh, I think you're right. I think I'm saying it wrong.
I think it is Dinah, I think.
But don't
Dinah,
worry, Wildbow probably says it Dina.
That's right, exactly. But giving
Wildbow, if you have any disagreements, fight me.
Yeah. Welcome anytime. Starting with that chapter to kick off this sense of urgency that all of this is happening now. And you can easily kind of throw them in the dialogue, right? Dinah sees, going through predictions, yada, yada. The Slaughterhouse 9, they're recruiting now. Just kind of start the tension. And the one big thing I think I'd want to change there is ending with Jack Slash's chapter. Being the leader, being because you could do that so easily. You could start with Coil and Dinah, because we know about the prediction with Jack Slash at this point. We know that there's the prophecy. So introduce that, the 9 are hitting, you go through the other chapters, do them however you want to do, and then come back to Coil and Dinah. They kind of have their little, they take their breath, right? They're fine, they're alive, they survived, and just have kind of a line about, the prophecy again, alluding to Jack, and then we end on Jack's chapter with Theo. And just sort of ending with him, establishing him as the main antagonist, I feel would work pretty well. If, again, assuming we do choose to just sort of put this all in one episode.
It also does something, the Jack Slash portion does the thing that, makes this a longer running series that we kind of wished had happened in episode or in season 1, but, can't really have it just because of reasons. But it sets the time frame. Hey, in the future, some point this guy is gonna end the world. He's gonna be responsible for ending the world. And now we have kind of this weird number of like, you've got 2 years to train up to kill me. which is not a direct, hey, you have 2 years or I end the world, but it does kind of feel like that if you're an outside watcher.
Mm-hmm.
I can see that.
And again, the nice thing about something as simple as that is, depending on how we want to work the time skip in when we get there, and if we choose to rewrite that or kind of reconstruct it a bit, you could very easily just change that line to like, oh, we're going to shorten it to 6 months because it works better. Well, then you just change that line to, oh, Theo, I'm giving you 6 months to prepare to fight me.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you could even do it like, I give you a week, right? It doesn't really matter. So,
7 days.
Yeah, exactly. So we can easily kind of repurpose that as we need to.
Yeah. Do you want to go start?
Sorry, real quick. Just it's not important at all, but since Jacob brought it up, and this is kind of interesting. What it's called when something is shot in real time.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's called real time.
You know what?
Interesting.
I never would have guessed.
Jake was like, I don't know what it's called. And I'm like,
well, thank you for the fact check. As always.
I appreciate it. Now we have the technical wording.
Yeah, so
real time.
There you go.
Makes sense.
Carry on.
All right. Do we want to just kick off interlude by interlude?
Yeah, I think we can. I think each chapter is pretty self-contained, so it's pretty easy to just kind of go chapter at a time. So yeah, let's start with that.
So
with Bitch.
Yeah, Bitch in Siberian. Man, she's running free through the fields. I'm feeling its spirit, but for dogs.
Yep.
Yep.
Bitch, Stallion of the Cimarron.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Voiced by Matt Damon.
Oh, yeah, obviously.
I think we could move through her trigger event and her flashback pretty quickly. And I think, honestly, oh man, I was thinking about this too. I almost think we should wait until after her run-in with Siberian to show it.
When
she's talking about, are you a wolf? Yada yada. You can sprinkle in flashback there, sprinkle in the trigger event. You can also shorten her flashback too, right? We don't really need to see the full thing, her bumping around. Like, you really just need to show the dog drowning and the evil stepmother shutting the gate and the trigger.
I also think we just need to move, as we do with a lot with Taylor, just have her say out loud, like have her talk to her dogs essentially about Gru and Taylor, and then like, why the fuck are they happier than me? Because that's just a banger line.
Yeah, it is. I do like that line. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of a rule for film in general is, yes, there is a show don't tell mentality that you gotta adhere to, but you also need to do more talking because it's a film or a show. Like, people want to hear dialogue. Like, they want to hear people talking. So yeah, I agree. Put that in. I will say Siberian is another character where I would just love to see a fantastic actress portray that character in live action.
Yeah.
Would just be a really, really fun and intimidating character.
Because she's nude?
Oh. Yeah, exactly. Exactly, Michael.
Yes, of course.
100%.
Of course.
Obviously.
Yeah. Two people immediately that I think of, because I'm thinking taller women. Just one, I guess, because you also got to have tall. She's tall, but she's kind of lanky. Is the vibe I get. I go Charlize Theron.
Right. Yeah. Someone along those lines.
They'll probably be fairly CGI'd. Like
Michael, no, you're gonna sit in that body paint all day.
It is very much. I mean, minimal CG. You can do a lot of that with a skin suit and some face paint. Pretty much.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Get away with it. Good makeup artist can get it done.
True.
I think we need to shore up some exposition on the 9 here. There's a little bit too much talking about them.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, again, you don't have to. A lot of this can be audiences aren't stupid. They're going to pick up on what's going on. You know, the banter between Siberian and Bitch is very clear what she's doing. You know, it's very clearly a recruitment pitch. Leaving her the wolf puppy, all that kind of stuff. It's self-explanatory.
Yeah,
makes sense.
Yeah, have her try and read the tag and then just cut over her shoulder.
Yeah,
like, I think there's a little detail. It's very small, but I think that when she pulls out her cell phone after this happens, I think she should pull it out. She should pull up Taylor's phone number and like the contact info. And right before she calls her or texts her or whatever, she thinks about it and then puts it away.
I like it.
I think that'd be a small little thing.
Yep.
As a whole, a lot of this can just be condensed to like running around, has the fight, bites the people, has the fight with two capes. I don't even know if we need the two capes so much as the Siberian shows up and the capes show up also.
I think you can have the capes, but I think you can. I was going to say, I think you can just you can almost start with that, right? Like you could start the scene with like a showdown between Brandish, Glory Girl, and Bitch and her dogs, kind of like
yeah, you're right.
And then have some little back and forth, yada yada. Siberian shows up, and you go from there.
Yeah, okay, so here's the motif that we need to focus on in these as we move forward with Rachel as a character. So we have this question: are you a dog or are you a wolf? And I think that both as a visual motif with Bastard, and a this vibe of are you domesticated, are you not? With Rachel, we need to kind of focus on that moving forward. There's a lot of characters that are essentially going to have the will they, won't they, going bad or not.
Yeah.
And that'll be the focus of this season, kind of like where's the breaking point.
Let me put that down.
I like that
for season 2.
Very nice.
Yeah. I forget what our season 1 was, but our season 1 was kind of like facing bullies. Like, our season 1 was superhero or supervillain, kind of.
Yeah, pretty much.
But season 2, while it is that question, it's that question for more than just Taylor. It's that question for kind of everybody. Like, do you want to be a superhero or a supervillain? Or in this case, do you want to be a supervillain or a super nightmare?
Yeah.
So
I like it.
I agree. That's good stuff. Anything else for this first chapter?
No, I think that's it.
Nice. Yeah, let's move on. God, I almost want to just skip B and come back to it, but we'll just tackle it while we're here. I think this is my favorite chapter. Jack just being one of my favorite antagonists of all time.
Yeah. I'm glad you think that, because I'll say it now just so I can get it out, because I didn't in the other podcast. I don't like Jack Slash. Oh, he's so boring.
Oh man. That's the end of the podcast, everybody. Thanks for listening. We had a good run. Oh man. So, you know what? I just took a sip of Baja Blast. Let's do it. Why do you not like Jack Slash as an antagonist?
All right. So as an antagonist, like the main thing is boring. He's just boring. He's got an interesting ability that isn't that fantastic. And of course, he's got his little subtle side ability that everybody alludes to, that he maybe has danger sense. And maybe even some like master powers in terms of manipulating people, or maybe he's just good at that as a, natural thing. But overall, he's just kind of uninteresting when it comes to powers. Like, we've got all these other characters that are, really cool in their own regard. And, it does make you wonder, dang, what did Jack Slash do to also, to earn their respect, kind of. And the real answer is he just kind of plays them off each other. Like he's a good talker. I don't think he has that top villain quality when he's over here with his white shirt, unbuttoned and open. I don't like the Johnny Depp aesthetic.
Oh.
I don't like the this weird cocky attitude. Like it just doesn't fit as a good supervillain. Like this is a guy who should be a solo act for villains. Like he's very dangerous, he's a little unhinged. You handle him with caution, but he's not somebody that should have any sort of interesting following. He's essentially Heartbreaker minus the power.
Good thoughts.
He's just kind of disappointing to me. He's always been disappointing to me.
Okay.
Good thoughts.
I've thought the same thing about Kingpin from his universe. I feel like
you're talking about from Marvel's Kingpin?
Yeah,
Kingpin?
right.
I mean,
exactly.
I would also agree. There are except for his backstory, I kind of don't like Kingpin.
Kingpin became popular because of Vincent D'Onofrio's performance in the Daredevil show.
Yeah,
and I mean that does say a lot.
I can't tell if it's a really good performance or a really bad performance half the time.
Well, it's,
man,
that's an opinion.
Forgot how much we disagree on things.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an opinion.
It's an opinion.
It's certainly an opinion.
Incorrect, but it's an opinion. That's fair.
Yeah, but I mean, I do know what you're saying, though. I can kind of relate. I feel like he isn't as powerful as the people he's controlling. So in that way, it's kind of interesting. But he's got this, I don't know. He's got like the swag.
He does have the swagger. I don't know. It doesn't.
Well, I'll make it.
There's something about him. There's something about him. Yeah, please make a case for him.
So, what makes Worm fun for me as a reader is that it presents a very. It feels like a very realistic world for such an unrealistic setting. And what I like about that is a lot of the characters that we meet convey a lot of realism in the way they talk to each other. We've talked extensively about how good the dialogue feels, how real the conversations feel, etc. And Jack Slash feels like a very real character. Like if you gave a serial killer the superpower of unlimited knife length, essentially, is what he has, he'd do some serious damage. And I like that about him. But beyond that, I really, really like what Jack Slash represents within the story. And I'm going to go, we've said it before, but we're going to put it out here again just to sort of establish this. Dissecting Worm, unlike the Brockton Bay Book Club, we have decided to go into full spoiler territory for this portion. It's just too hard to talk about events as they interact with each other and upcoming events. So once again, full spoilers for Worm here. And I say that because I'm about to give some spoilers to anybody listening. Jack Slash represents an inevitability within the story. Because of the way his broadcaster shard works, it's building towards this inevitable conclusion that the entities want, which is this sort of ultimate chaos. And it is so similar to, for example, what the White Walkers represent in Game of Thrones, what the Reapers represent in Mass Effect, which is you are so occupied with all of these squabbling, all of these rifts, these gang fights, these protectorate versus other gangs, undersiders, travelers. You're so wrapped up into these stories that you ignore the simple thing in plain daylight that is slowly marching you towards doom. And we get glimpses of this. We get the prophecy. We get Dinah. We get little bits here and there. We're starting to build to it. but nobody's really paying it any attention. It's sort of this wolf in sheep's clothing dynamic. So it's not so much the character of Jack Slash himself, although I do think he's kind of fun. It's more Jack Slash's effect on the overall story that I think really helps excel Worm into this sort of upper echelon of stories that I think about when I think about stories that really stick with me over time. It's this, there's trying to think of the way the one creator worded it. I think he called it like a ticking clock, where Jack Slash is the ticking
time
clock.
bomb.
Exactly. And Jack Slash is that ticking time bomb. And he is not, for example, as sort of mysterious as Scion or other big names we hear about, like the Endbringers or Sleeper, I think is what his name is, the weird guy kind of out in the middle of the desert. Like, he's just this guy. He doesn't seem that threatening, which is why everybody's sort of ignoring him. Anyway, all that to say, I really like what Jack Slash does for the story in terms of building towards this inevitable conclusion that everybody's feeling is coming, but isn't really doing anything about, which is a fun dynamic in the world. But I respect your opinion.
I like it. Audience, what do you guys think?
I was to say, and I don't feel as if like it really is an aesthetic thing. It's not his role in the story. I completely agree with. You need him there as this ticking time bomb. In fact, I think, as you were talking about it, I was, thinking, okay, if that's his goal, what if we leaned into the fact that, a little more, that his power kind of works like the Simurgh. That what makes him really dangerous, while he does have the slashing ability, is the fact that he's drawn the Slaughterhouse 9 around him. And that wherever he goes, he is somebody that, like, you don't let people talk to him because he will do something to them. He will unsettle them in such a way that they are now kind of a liability. Very much, how you don't let Tattletale talk,
Exactly.
Get in a room, Tattletale, you slap a gag on her. And I think having having somebody like that, but for Jack Slash, where here's a serial killer, this crazy person, but if he can talk to you, that's dangerous. Like, he can swing a knife, everybody knows that.
Yeah, exactly. And that can be sort of a question that the audience is asking, like, why is this guy in charge of the 9? Why does Crawler and Mannequin and Siberian respect him and not kill him? Why can't anyone go kill him? Like, why can't Legend or Alexandria or Eidolon just fly over and take care of this really dangerous guy? Like, what is it? And that should be a kind of frustrating thing for the audience, I think, is that they're kind of wondering why that is. And, it's a really satisfying conclusion. So,
very nice.
Kind of build to it.
Also, if you're going to get somebody to play Jack Slash.
Oh, yeah.
I know I know exactly who I'm going to get to play him.
All right, I got my answer too.
Okay, you got your answer?
Got my answer.
Okay. In Westworld Season 1, there is not our main boy, played by Jimmy Simpson, but his brother-in-law.
Oh, yeah.
Played by Ben Barnes.
Yep.
At the time, he had a little bit longer dark hair.
Yep.
He's got that kind of scruffy look to him with a killer smile. And he's kind of got that dirty bad boy, but really good looking and cocky attitude.
Oh, yeah.
Ben Barnes is my choice for Jack Slash.
Yeah. No, that's the right answer, pretty much. He's got the perfect look. I do love fan casts. I've had a lot of fun sort of thinking about it. What always ends up happening is I'm like, oh, this guy would be perfect for this role. oh, but he would be more perfect for this role. And that happens all the time. So like, I really want, I got to look him up because I forget his name.
Theo Von.
Oh my gosh.
It's Theo Von, isn't it?
No, it is.
That'd be, come on.
Looking it up. You can't stop me. Ed Skrein. Gosh, it's so easy to remember. Ed Skrein. He's been in a lot of things. People will probably most remember him as Ajax from the first Deadpool movie.
Oh yeah, okay.
And also really great guy, the really hot fighter in Game of Thrones who replaced the other dude.
Right.
Yeah.
Really tan.
Yep.
Yeah, really great actor. He's done a lot. Does the evil characters very, very well. And I was like, oh man, he'd make a great Jack Slash. But actually, he would make a great anybody. He would make a great Saint. He would make a great Hookwolf. And I was like,
he would make a really good Kaiser.
Yeah, there you go. A really good Kaiser.
He's got a punchable face.
He does, and you need that. So
yeah.
No, I think Ben Barnes is the right answer. I've thought about him too. Would make a really good Jack Slash. He could pull that off very well.
Audience, what do you think?
Yeah, let us know. We love fan casts. They're always fun, especially because they never happen. So, we can have fun with it. Who would you cast?
We'll see, and then we'll see who was right when we do cast it for real.
Exactly.
That'll be the best part.
Yes.
But Danny DeVito as the Siberian, obviously.
Oh, of course.
It's the only right answer.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
If nothing else, in all seriousness, he plays Nilbog, right?
Oh, wait, that's not even a joke. That's just perfect. That's just the actual answer. We'll have to get to that. Yeah, we're going to revisit that.
Oh my gosh.
But coming back to the Jack Slash chapter, I think just let's take as is. Got Jack there. I don't like Jack just holding the baby and Theo just staring at the TV. I would almost enjoy this as its own self-contained thing if we started, like, let's say we're breaking it up, we have him following Oni Lee, sees that Oni Lee is maybe going to attack Theo and Aster, some sort of revenge for Kaiser.
Mm-hmm.
And he kills him. He's like, oh, what were you going to do? He kills him and then, throws him in the bathtub, like barges in and throws him in the bathtub.
You mean Oni Lee?
Yeah, Jack Slash kills Oni Lee, but like
is Oni Lee a dude?
Lee's, what?
Is Oni Lee a dude?
Yeah, pretty sure.
All right, we're cutting that. No.
That's going.
That is some content.
I don't know why I didn't know that.
Yeah, no. The Oni part just means, what is it? Demon in Japanese.
Yeah.
So
okay.
It's sort of like how Jack Slash is, or like Dirty Jack, you would say. Lee's just a stereotypical name, so it's just like Demon. Demon Jack is basically what
I'm less scared by them now that I know it's a dude. I don't know why.
Because you're sexist.
Yeah.
In my head, it's a scary lady. Anyways, all right, carry on.
Yeah. So I think it'd just be more interesting to have. I just don't like the idea of him just staring at the TV, Jack just holding the baby. I think there's a better opening to this somehow.
Oh, see, I like the opening of Jack holding the baby. I agree. I think Theo looking at the TV doesn't help anything. But I like the idea of the tension there with Jack holding Aster and Theo looking calm, but like holding back that anxiety, that fear.
I think you have Theo and him basically having a stare down where he's watching Theo watch the baby as he's like holding it.
What if Theo's not staring at the TV, but staring at Oni Lee's corpse in the bathtub?
Yeah. I think either like I said, either the corpse or you have him staring at Aster, being like, very clearly he is concerned.
Yeah.
I think that's a better opening. I love the conversation about the like versus love. I think that, sticks in.
Mm-hmm.
I think Jack essentially reading Theo, and all the inner monologue we're kind of getting from Theo. I think having Jack sort of say that out loud to prompt Theo to talk a little bit more would be good.
Yeah, this would be a really fun scene to sit down with a DP and a director and sort of talk about how to properly convey the tension. Because we can write it, which is all we're doing. We're just putting the words on the page there. You can do that, but like really trying to sell this scene is going to be a fun challenge. And there's a lot of ways you could do it. I would love to hear an actual like seasoned director sit down with these chapters and sort of hear how they would frame everything. Would be really fun.
Yeah. But another thing we get to here is kind of a back-to-back. I like, so we get to Theo talking to Jack, and he gives him like, hey, what would you do to people like me? And Theo gives that like, I would kill. I think we need to punch up the fact that like, hey, I want to do that, but even if given a knife and you like stuck your throat out and didn't stop me, I don't think I could kill you even now, just because I just don't have it in me. But I want to have it. And, he gives him the timeline, which is a great setup. I think having that conversation and adding the like, even if you gave me one of your knives and like all the, let me try and cut you. I couldn't do it. And then from there on, when we cut back to Theo, I think having Purity and the other members of, I guess it's just the Pure at that time, training him and like getting him to kill status essentially. Like them doing what it takes because they realize like he's going to kill Purity's like, you got to kill people because like otherwise he's going to come back and he's going to kill me and he's going to kill Aster and I can't let that happen. So when we start cutting back to Theo, I think there needs to be more urgency and more like whipping him into shape essentially.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Theo's one of those characters that I'm excited to sort of explore to a greater extent with this show. I think it starts here pretty much, which is fun. That's all I got on that chapter.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Moving on, we'll get over to Labyrinth and Burn Scar.
Yep.
I don't have too much to say here.
I think you can kind of two notes.
Yeah, kind of do it as is. Have some fun with Labyrinth's effects, and just kind of playing up the bait and switch maybe with Burn Scar being there for Labyrinth. And
love the bait and switch.
Yeah.
I think there needs to be a lot of rework of the conversation between the two.
I would agree.
I don't like the conversation. I don't like the conversation. I don't like the way it's written. I think that needs to get reworked. But other than that,
I have other chapters I'd rather occupy our time with.
Yeah, I like we talked about. I don't like Jack Slash, but in terms of chapter quality, the Spitfire Burn Scar Labyrinth one, just not.
And and again, it's because at this point in the story, right? Fault Line's crew, like they're fun, but we don't really spend a lot of time with them, so there's just not a lot of emotional investment in this chapter. And Burn Scar is cool. She's got some cool powers, but that's about it.
However, we really don't get a lot out of Burn Scar.
Yeah. But like, if we did choose to devote more time to Fault Line's crew, for example, then, maybe we want to give this confrontation a bit more effort. But
yeah.
But I think about fine as is.
In general, and this is just me, but at the end of the day, when you think about the Slaughterhouse 9, there are 4 people of the half of them that you remember, and the other half that are expendable. Sadly, doesn't mean they're not cool. They just they aren't that weird memorable. And it's Siberian, Jack Slash, Mannequin, and Bonesaw. Those are who stick with you. And it's also not just because those are the ones who survive a lot of this. And
Right.
then the other ones, you have Burn Scar, Shatterbird, Cherish, and Crawler.
Yeah.
Crawler's really cool. You don't remember Crawler like you remember Mannequin.
Yeah.
Because you don't interact with him as much, and it's just
Crawler's not even a character. He's like a force of nature. It's
exactly.
He's just fun for fights.
I'll be honest, I forgot Shatterbird talked. You know?
I was getting her confused with Canary a little bit. I will admit that. I was like, I know one of them sings and
the extent to which I remember Shatterbird is like literally Shatterbird shows up, does the big shout, and that's it. That's all I remember. In my mind, Shatterbird might as well got killed off screen. You know, cool power.
Yeah.
Still unmemorable.
Still unmemorable. Yeah. We'll get through them here. Okay.
Well, all right. Now to an interesting
sums up. Sums up.
Out of your favorite one.
See. Yeah. Here we go. Into Armsmaster and Mannequin and Dragon.
Oh,
another real fun chapter. Love this chapter.
Scary chapter.
Again, would love to see an actor portray Mannequin. Would be amazing. That was a joke.
You need get one of the Scars guards. Whoever played it.
That was a joke.
Yeah. Wait, actually though. No, wait, yeah. Who are the hardcore method actors right now? Bring Daniel Day-Lewis out of retirement.
There's a guy who that's like his whole career is he plays like the characters that don't talk and are scary and like weirdly proportional because he's just a really tall, skinny dude.
Oh yes. Oh, I know what you're thinking of. You're thinking of I want to say Doug Jones. Is that it?
Yeah. I think so. Let me look it up.
He plays like he played the fish creature in
yeah, he plays all the creatures.
Yep. No,
that's him.
Right on it.
So
yeah, that's your mocap stand-in for Mannequin.
For sure.
And he probably would nail that.
He would.
That you mention it.
All right,
he's a fantastic actor.
This is a shot like a horror movie, straight up.
Mm-hmm.
I called it back in the other podcast. This is Tombs from the X-Files coming through the grate. I think Dragon needs to have a longer talking session with Colin. That way we can draw out the tapping.
Oh yeah.
I think that the tapping sound needs to be just longer. I remember it being longer. I remember it being this, kind of like trying to find which fire alarm doesn't have the battery in it and is making that beeping sound.
Right.
You're trying to talk with somebody and you're like, okay, I gotta deal with this. And then, it stops or, it's getting closer and you realize it's the vent or whatever. And then, him running around the penthouse, getting chased, trying to fight him however he can. But, Mannequin's Mannequin. So,
right.
I think having Dragon and him having a longer talk here, and we'll come up with something for them to talk about because Lord knows those two are, this cute power couple.
Very easy place to put in dialogue. Even throw in a little exposition here and there. You can absolutely draw that out. And I like the idea of doing so in order to build up the tapping. I think that's very clever. In terms, keep going. Keep going. You're on a roll.
I think, obviously, the Mulan scene with the piece of glass needs to happen. I don't like the keyboard thing. I think it's kind of hokey. I think him holding up the glass is enough. Like having him not talk, having him hold up the glass, having him stab and then get, body parts replaced.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's it. Like you said, the audience isn't dumb. We don't need to overdo this.
Yeah. Oh no, you do the.
I'll be honest. I don't. Going back off of that, I don't know that Siberian needs to talk.
I thought the same thing, but I do love the the fact that nobody thinks in universe, nobody thinks Siberian can talk, when the reality is just that nobody ever lives through it, is a really fun dynamic. So I think it is kind of fun to keep Siberian talking just for that.
That's true, and she has some good stuff to convince her over. But yeah, in this case, Mannequin can't talk. I don't think Mannequin should talk. I think you just hold up the glass, reflection. I think that's it.
Yeah, that's all you do. I mean, if you really wanted to, you just give Armsmaster a line where he looks at the glass, he makes the connection, and goes, I'm nothing like you. There you go. And then you've explained the whole thing.
Yeah. I do think. So my big question here, Jacob, is, Dragon and Colin have this conversation afterwards, where she comes through and she's like, "Hey, we need to talk about something." And he's like, "Oh, what?" And it fades out. Do we? Because we've already bumped this before. The dragon revealed that she's an AI.
Right.
Do we bump that again in this moment, or do we take the time for her to explain it?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think we explain it sooner rather than later at this point, because I'm trying to think, and I'm happy to revisit this in the future, but I'm not sure when a better time would be moving forward.
'Cause I'm trying to think of when dragons, when does that get revealed?
Yeah, I'm struggling to remember some of the details of the later arcs. I'm sure we'll revisit it when we come back in contact with all of that. But I mean, there's the whole fight with Saint and the dragon. What's this group called?
Dragon Slayers.
Dragon Slayers. Thank you. And it's pretty obviously at that point, I think. But I might be misremembering that. Either way, I think to circle back, I think now is as good a time as any to reveal Dragon's identity.
Yeah, this is gonna bother me for a while because I cannot. Okay, so it's when they're interrogating Saint.
Okay.
Which, goodness gracious, that happens. What, like in the 20s?
Yeah, I was gonna say that's way towards the end of the story. So yeah, I would definitely want to reveal Dragon before then. I think her character just works better when you know what she is.
Yeah, that is true. I do. There is something that I'd like to point out. Moving forward, that I'd like to to bump up, if you will, and it's that Taylor and Armsmaster, eventually have a come to Jesus moment. Because they go through a lot separately, but they kind of recognize as real. And Dragon is in there facilitating a lot of this. And in fact, Dragon knows about Taylor, but she doesn't say anything. And we've talked about showing that. What I'd like to follow up on is maybe Dragon has a soft spot for Taylor. And I think that exploring them, not just being either there is a soft spot that Dragon genuinely has for her, and that that Colin feels kind of guilty about. But I'd like that dynamic to move. And in order to do that, I think that having Dragon maybe reveal herself to Taylor later on would kind of bolster that. There's a lot of incidents that Dragon's going to be very present in the future. They work together, and they'll really get work together when, the recruiting for Taylor happens later on.
Right.
That's arc, 19?
Yeah, around there.
It is a little bit of ways, and maybe you could even do it before then, but I feel like maybe there's a lot of moments that Miss Militia will eventually reach out to Taylor. And I think it would maybe behoove us to switch Miss Militia with Dragon.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Talking about condensing characters, Miss Militia is a fun character, but certainly doesn't have nearly as much to contribute to the story as Dragon. So when you are trying to condense scenes and condense characters, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Yeah, just as something I was kind of like reading and thinking about this today, actually. Yeah, I think that would be a good way to continue playing up a relationship between the two of them, especially since ultimately Dragon kind of becomes the recruiter for Taylor.
Yep. Yeah, I agree.
And I think having that there it would be important, maybe to reveal it later on.
Yeah, I like that. I'm here for it.
Anything else in that section? I mean, I realize I talked a lot in that, and this is
No, that was
No,
great.
no.
But
No, it's good. Yeah, no, I agree with pretty much all of that. I love Arms Master as a character. We'll talk about him moving forward for sure. It reminds me a lot of Prince Zuko from The Last Airbender. Just has that as a fun arc that centers around his inability to be who he thought he could be. And there's a lot of similarities there.
It's like, what if Batman had the Prince Zuko storyline?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't think not anything else I really want to change there or anything like that. So I think most of that gets left as is.
Yeah.
Right. We interrupt our scheduled program to bring you a word from our sponsor, Zencastr, a one-stop shop for all your podcasting needs. When we first started this podcast, we knew we needed a service that would let us record remotely. After doing some research, Zencastr was the obvious choice. We started using Zencastr and never looked back. It's super easy to record a podcast with Zencastr. All you do is log in, invite people to join your room, and start recording a high-quality podcast right away. You can record studio-quality sound and up to 4K video with your guests. You can rest easy even if you have an unstable connection, knowing Zencastr's multi-layered backups ensure you always have your recordings in the highest quality. We do all our recording in Zencastr, and when the episode is ready, we can distribute it to all major podcast platforms. Zencastr has made podcasting so much easier with its all-in-one podcasting platform and tools. Go to zencastr.com/pricing and use my code BrocktonbaybC, and you'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. I want you to have the same easy experiences I do for all my podcasting and content needs. It's time to share your story. That's zencastr.com/pricing and use our code BrocktonbaybC. And now back to our scheduled programming.
All right, 11.E. Move into Hook Wolf. I'll be honest, this is another one I don't really care about too much. More world building. The only really important thing here is it gives us a place to plant or to show one of Coil's plants.
Yeah. And also, it's slowly, as we've had this kind of with a couple other organizations, we've talked about adding one into the PRT. We've talked about, there are ones that work for all these different places and that Tattletales, alluded to. But this would be kind of the first direct connection we have other than Tattletale directly working for Coil. That yes, there's this other character that was undercover in an organization and is dirty. Because I think we talked about it's cool to have that with the one hero Chariot. I think it's Chariot, but it's just kind of such a meh character and out of the way storyline. It's not really worth it.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, not much here that I would want to really focus on. Just sort
trim
of
the training down. Maybe just
trim the training down. Just go right to it. Honestly, a couple of these you could kind of throw together pretty quickly in between the longer ones. And again, kind of depends on how we would want to how we end up deciding to treat this as an episode or not. But yeah, just kind of move through this one.
I think Cricket, like maybe have a quick moment with Cricket where like is disrupting your thing and she just shoots Cricket. I think that's such a great scene.
I do like that. I do like that. And I can't remember in the story because I know he's like bringing a healer, but I can't remember if Cricket actually dies there or not in Worm. But regardless, she should absolutely die there.
Yeah.
Also in the show,
Cricket is a character. Like I know we kind of erased Cricket from before. This is the first read through I've had where Cricket existed in my head. I did not remember Cricket.
Nope,
ever.
Not at all.
I was like, did he sneak a retcon a new character in like the last year? Like,
yep, no memory. Absolutely no memory. So sorry, Cricket. Sorry to all the Cricket fans.
Other part in here is I think maybe having Shatterbird throw out to Hook Wolf that he is not the only wolf in this competition. Because he's pretty set on I'm not going to join y'all. And I think making it a competition rather than proving you're strong would egg him a bit.
Yeah. Plus, it helps the little rivalry between Hook Wolf and Bitch that they had going on because of the dog fighting and all of that. So it helps plays into that too. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Otherwise, I don't really have a whole lot of. My only note, and this is for a lot of them, is just make a lot of the more them showing up be more ominous. If we wanted to do these really, really small scale, make them really short as like intros or outros or something like that. I think doing. I don't know what to call it, but I'm just gonna call it the Shoresy of like the Shoresy shot, which is, either it's usually close up and the camera keeps panning backwards through everything, so that as you're watching, like you might initially start on a character in the back and they're watching stuff take place, but you don't notice that until you start moving out. And as you keep moving out, the stuff that's fighting is kind of like around where the camera's backing through. If you've ever seen any of the trailers for Shoresy, it's in there. And I think there's something about that just feels like it feels like a masterpiece of art. One of those accidental Renaissance paintings. And I could imagine that for the Hook Wolf Shatterbird scene specifically, of like. There's not a whole lot moving. There's, lightning in the background or whatever. There's glass shattered everywhere. There's just Hook Wolf on the ground, angry, and Shatterbird up, and people crawling and groaning. And, she's got the gun in her hand, and Cricket's on the ground, grabbing her knee. And that's it. It's panning on that scene for like 30 seconds as you're just pulling out, and seeing the rest of the scene as, you see all the chaos that she created.
Yeah.
And I think you could do that for a lot of the less talky ones, or, the ones you don't care that much about.
Yeah. No, that's good. I think that makes a lot of sense. I like that. Any other thoughts there?
No, not really.
Yeah. All right, moving on. Dinah and Coil.
I really like this one.
Yeah. So this is where, again, if you wanted to work with the real time idea, you could start this whole episode with Dinah walking over to Coil and just going, 64% chance we die in the next hour. Boom. Title Worm. Just.
I like that.
Yeah.
I think the other thing you could do is, did you ever watch Mob Psycho 100?
I did not.
Okay, so it does a thing in there where he's a psychic and he's got this number in his head that essentially like keeps racking up, his stress level essentially. Hits 100, he blows up. But what that is, it's a quick black screen that it flashes to, and then the number, you know. And I think having that, opens and it's a calculating number. It moves from 0. It does the tick, 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 and then lands on the number. So we calculate, the numbers run, it runs to 46 point whatever percent. Immediate, it's just a quick snippet, all black with white letters or white numbers. And then we're in with Dinah, where she walks over, and that there's a 46% of something. It's very clear that when that number hit, she sat up and she's like, well, walks over and goes, there's a 46% chance that we die in the next whatever. And every time he asks her from then on, she does the thing where maybe she closes her eyes for a second, and then the number calculates, and then she opens her eyes and goes, this number. What about this? Bam, this number. I think having that is maybe a way to show her power, rather than the pinging numbers. I know that's how her power works, but I don't know if that works necessarily for television. The bouncing off the different universes.
It's very hard to show that. I think honestly, you just give her a little I really like the in Infinity War, Marvel. When Doctor Strange is doing his whole look into the future, the little weird jittery head movements that just seem to imply that his mind is moving faster than reality. You could just do a little thing like that, not even that strong, but just little twitches where her head is shaking and her mind is moving, and she's coming up with a number. There's a lot of little visual ways you can just show that she's calculating something, without having to dive into the lore behind it.
Yeah. They'd also do a pretty good impression of showing why her head hurts all the time.
Exactly, right. Headaches.
Yeah. But yeah, if we were going to do a visual representation, and if we really had to do the visual representation of all the branching universes, I think you switch from just that single number to literally a tree of numbers, and her having to search through all of them as they hit different percentages.
Yeah. There's also did you ever watch Next with Nicolas Cage?
I never did.
So not a great movie, to be honest, but
you could have just said Nicolas Cage movie, and I would have known.
Yeah.
Whoa.
That's okay. Hold on. Let's not get
right. There's National Treasure.
Okay. Go ahead, tell us, please.
Anyway, I'm about to go on a rant. So his power in Next is that he lives, it's 2 or 3 minutes, something like that, in the future. And so he exists permanently in the future and is able to then obviously move in the present with knowing everything that's about to happen. And towards the end of the film, they portray that as him splitting into multiple versions of himself to essentially, it's actually more like Coil's power than anything, where he splits into multiple versions of himself and then runs around a room and finds what he's looking for, and then they kind of come back to the present and he goes right there, that kind of thing. I don't think you could actually show it like that, but just that there's a lot of different ways where you can show multiple possibilities. You could do really weird sort of flash images of the travelers all bloodied and corpsed across the wall, scratches everywhere, flash, 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 as she's going through realities, and then throwing out a number at the end, that kind of there's a lot of clever ways you can sort of show, give the idea that she is looking at all these different possible realities and then picking the best one.
I think I do like the idea of her just coming in, and he's like, what is it, pet? And she just goes, 46% chance we die in the next 15 minutes.
Gonna die.
I think that's a banger opener.
For
Gives
real.
us the power, how that works.
We skipped right over that, but yes, that was amazing, Jacob.
And I like the idea of coming back to this one. If you are going to sort of break things up, so hey, 46% chance we're dead within the next hour. Boom. Then cut to a different scene, right, bitch or anyone else. And then you do a couple of those, and then you come back, and now they're boarding up the walls, they're going through things, and more numbers, yada yada, still stressful. And then cut away, and then cut back. We got to stay with Noelle. Stressful. Cut away, come back. And then, you finally get towards the end of the episode, hit that 45-minute mark. Audiences are calming down. They're fine. Who was that? Yeah, I don't know. Coyle gets notification that his plant died with the Hook Wolf. And then, you could still end with Jack slashes. Give a little prediction. Kind of thing.
This actually brings up something. It brings up another part of the Dinah problem. Because it's always bothered me sort of in season 1. Even in the writings of arc 1 through 8, just that Dinah is such a nothing character that all of a sudden Taylor's like, don't you guys realize like she was the little girl that got kidnapped that one time when we were bank heisting, like we were the distraction. Feel super responsible for that. I just never felt like that was like, I was just like out of nowhere, kind of. Like there's one mention that like, oh yeah, because she's in the newspaper, but you don't really think about it and you kind of gloss over it. So in retrospect, if we're trying to punch up the fact that the travelers work for Coyle kind of directly, and that I would like to amend that fact that Dinah's just kind of glossed over as existing. I think that we have a post-credit scene showing the travelers, specifically Trickster, kidnap Dinah from her house.
Yeah.
I think the way we do it is pretty simple. We just have like a doll, that is roughly the size of her, just zooped through the window.
Right.
And, to replace her when, somebody steps out of the room. And then Trickster just like there, to grab her and be like, and say something trickstery.
I like it.
Catchphrase.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're taking you to your new home.
Yeah.
You're never gonna fucking leave.
No, right. I mean, I think that makes sense. I think you can play that up a bit. Yeah, I mean, you can even play that up back at the reveal if you wanted to go that route when Taylor puts 2 and 2 together.
Well, I think that's the thing is like, since we kind of talked about not revealing that part, but this is another child kidnapping that what's his face kind of has a hand in, and I think when we do ultimately reveal Dinah, I think at the end of this would be a good Dinah reveal. Especially since I think during a lot of this we're going to get, we get a lot of numbers that I think should be texted to Tattletale through Coyle. Coyle, Tattletale's getting updates on her phone all the time. We have this that kind of existed before, that we have a really good chance of doing this, which kind of makes you think like, oh, what's Coyle's power? How does he know this? We have the bank heist could even be one. Given all of this, our boss says we have an 89% chance of pulling this off, and they're like, what the hell does that mean? And then especially in this season, we'll have a lot more of those like, hey, numbers are up. Like we got a pretty good chance of doing this. And then ultimately finding out that like, oh, no, these numbers are coming from someone. It's from that kidnapped girl that we saw a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yep. Sounds good.
I do like that.
All righty.
That's about all I've really got. Playing up the absolute terrifying unknown that is Noelle will be fun. But I don't really have too many notes there.
Crawler is terrifying. Noelle is terrifying.
I mean, they're caught
the
between
numbers are terrifying.
Yeah. Caught between a rock and a hard place there. So
yeah,
nothing I would really change, but just that's gonna be fun to get to do.
I think spreading them out is a pretty good idea. So we'll get into that at the end. All right. Cherish.
Moving on to Cherish. Oh, Cherish and Alec.
I like the fight. I really like the fight. I think.
Did you did you watch oh gosh, The Sandman on Netflix?
I tried to. I couldn't really get into
Same.
it.
It wasn't really my thing. I appreciate it for what it was, but wasn't my thing. I found the fight. They did a fight scene between Dream and the devil.
Yeah. The poem off.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of how I imagine this, with just less like, poetic dialogue and more just brother sister feud. Just sort of staring at each other while the fight is happening, really in their minds, essentially.
Yeah,
kind of has that same vibe.
yeah. I like the idea of having, they're standing on other sides of the room, but there's, we'll say, 3 or 4, people in the room, and they're, like magnets pushing against them either way. And they're all trying to keep control of them. So it literally is as close to a chessboard as you can watch. For these two mastermind. Is it master? I think master's the classification.
Yeah, they're masters.
And when every time they get a jab in, they're able to move one of the people forward. Except people aren't fighting against anything. They're just, trying to go one direction or the other.
Right. Yeah. No, exactly.
But yeah, getting in a jab and then showing that that actually loosened their hold on this one person. So that person took a step backwards. I really like the idea of a fight. Maybe loosening your grip on one so that you can get the other to run at the person.
Right. Yeah. You could have a lot of fun with some choreography here for sure.
And then the other thing I would move is I don't like the bomb setup. Because given that Alec doesn't really care about the people here in this building all that much.
Yeah.
What's stopping him from essentially taking control of her, but then just walking out of the building and, pulling the trigger,
Right.
The bomb's not that big. He would just leave. So I think there's got to be a better setup for that.
I agree.
Yeah, I don't know what it would be, but you
don't even really need the bomb. I mean, I don't think you really need it. You can just sell that Regent isn't going to do anything because even though he doesn't really, he hates his family. It's still kind of, it's his sister, so he's not going to kill her.
And he's grown as a person, as we will show in this conversation.
Exactly. So
I think this is also a good time in that Alec character arc moment. We play up that his team is the team that forgives. And because of that, essentially the forgiving of Taylor, he also forgives his sister, or rather he's capable of forgiveness. And he's like, hey, look, I'm sorry, things sucked. We had to screw each other over a lot as kids. I don't hold any resentment towards you. And I'm really sorry that, what we did do, what I did to you. And, she does not get that, of course.
I love the parallels that we can use with this show, because we're getting season 1 flashbacks to Vista and Shadowstalker, right? It's the exact same thing. It's
I feel sorry for you.
Yeah, really, exactly. It's kind of what it is. So yeah, we get another parallel of that kind of moment, which is fun.
I mean, we kind of get that moment a little bit with Bitch. Why are they so fucking happy? Even without the betrayal as much, it still just is very confusing as to there's she doesn't get it. Also, I think having her essentially, she talks about her plan to take over the Slaughterhouse 9 with her powers, and I think her, poking and prodding, going, you're doing the same thing to this group. Don't pretend.
Right.
And for him to finally just go, no, I just like hanging out with them. Like, there really isn't an ulterior motive here. They're just a bunch of cool
Right.
people. And, with the exception of Bitch, because, Bitch is always the exception.
Right.
Yeah, it's like hanging out with the Undersiders. Nothing else going on here.
Yeah. Yeah. No, exactly.
Last one, big one. Bonesaw.
Big one.
Another
big one.
Bonesaw is here.
Yeah, I think there's sort of three big chapters in my mind. There's Jack Slash and Theo. There's Dinah, Coil and Crawler, and then there's Amy and Bonesaw. I feel like those, in my mind, those are like the big three.
Yeah, I was gonna say I actually would trade out. Well, I like Jack Slash, and I realize conversationally, there's a lot that happens here. I think the mannequin one might be the one I switch out for being like the big player there.
Yeah, I can see that too.
Like, just in terms of time spent, I think the Theo Jack one can be a really quick 5-minute conversation. But I think the mannequin, the tapping, the conversation before, the fight afterward, I think that's like a 15-minute sequence.
Yeah, true. That's a good point.
This one definitely takes the most time.
To this one, man, is there a lot.
Yeah.
A lot to get through here. And there's not much that I really want to shorten or change. So it's more just pacing it out, really.
Yeah. At the beginning, I have an interesting thought. So Amy finds out from reading this letter. We start with her rereading it, essentially. Sitting in her room rereading it. Find out that her dad is this super villain. I wonder if we should show her finding that should be something that she wrestles with immediately. Or if that's something we maybe set up beforehand. Like we maybe have a scene in an earlier episode of her checking out and finding this letter.
Yeah. This is a great time to sort of talk about how much time and energy we want to give to Panacea as a character in the story, because I think that'll really dictate some of these answers.
I think for this season, she deserves a decent amount.
I agree. I honestly think we should probably, again, we're going to have a few episodes once we hit arc 30 and beyond, and we're done. We're going to have to we'll have a couple episodes kind of going back and cleaning up season at a time. And I foresee us working Amy into the story a bit more frequently. I think she's a really fun character. We've talked before about her. I think she parallels or contrasts rather really well with Taylor as a character. I think showing growth, her own arc throughout. She's one of the few characters aside from Taylor and Armsmaster, really, that I feel has a really nice long arc over the course of the entire story. And of course, she is instrumental at the end of the story. So we really want the audience to be invested in her at the end. So I definitely think it's worth probably trying to bolster her character a bit, which in turn, I would leave this reveal in at that point if we do that, because I think it's a big moment for her as a character, really figuring out who her parents are. But I agree, you have to earn that moment. So we would definitely want to give her more development earlier.
Yeah. Things to add on to that. Number one is like maybe we don't know who Marquis is. I forget if we even talked about showing him in one of the interludes with Long.
In the
I think it's too revealing right away that he's like, yes, my daughter Amelia. And it's like, even daughter, it's like, hey, I've got some question. There's someone out in the outside that I'm curious about, and like, like a rival. I was like, well, no, like a child. And, and then not say anything more. We cut it there.
Right.
So we at least get introduced to who Marquis is, maybe through Long and then the birdcage. And then I think also if we want to have more little, just, once an episode, we cut back to the Dallin household for just a small moment. I think having the argument about the fact that Amy doesn't touch brains and she can, but she won't fix her dad.
Yeah.
I think we could show that argument. I think we'd show her finding the letter. Having Victoria and her talk and have a sisterly moment, maybe here or there, like, hey, you're acting weird. Like, what's going on? She's like, it's so much. She's like, I know it's rough. Like, I know you have this, like, just showing the household.
Yeah.
I think leading up to that would be really, really good. Just literally a little 2-minute segment every episode for them.
Yep. Yeah. Nope. I like that. I agree. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
Anything you'd change with Bonesaw's entrance and exit?
No. Hack job's terrifying.
Yeah.
Just, let's get John Carpenter to shoot this one.
Yeah, really. My God, it's going to be a lot of my notes here are just
take it back.
Oh, this is going to be terrifying.
We don't get that. We don't get him. We get Raka Raka.
Yes.
After the success of their little horror movie and the fact that I know they can do some good, some good, work like that, we get Raka Raka to do this.
That is not a bad get. I'll be honest. That is good. I do like that.
Yeah, I think showing the internals, maybe with Amy, because we're doing this from Amy's perspective, maybe putting her hands on the monsters and showing, some just tracing nerves or something like that.
Oh yeah.
A little bit of fun CG work there, just bopping around in the internals.
Yeah, easily. You could do a quick zoom into the heart and see the spike, the cage, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, see the
nothing the Mortal Kombat video game team hasn't already done.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of fun, easy ways to do that. Robot spiders will be creepy.
Everything will be creepy.
Bones will be creepy.
I kind of wonder. So we got Hack Job, you got Mouse Protector, and you got Pagoda. Those are all fun. Yeah, I was almost wondering about like not having as many, but I guess it works out. So I'm not going to change too much there.
Yeah, I agree.
And I, honest to God, maybe other than retooling the conversation between her and Victoria later on, which also I would space out from this initial fight. I think it's fine.
Yeah, I agree. Well, that brings us to the end.
Now,
yes.
The end that will last another half hour, folks. Don't even worry.
You're not wrong, Michael.
Any kind of final thoughts we want to look over looking at these chapters?
Not individually, no, but looking at big picture is going to be the problem.
You guys did great.
So no, I do think we'll probably revisit this a bit in terms of how we want to frame it. I'm getting more, and as we've been talking through it, I'm kind of more and more sold on the idea of doing this, all of these as an episode. Just one episode to sort of introduce
a lot of jumping back and forth.
Yeah. Not too much, actually. I don't think you would need to jump too much back and forth. Like there's no, you don't need to split up Burn Scar. You don't need to split up that, anything there. That scene, Shatterbird, Cherish, those scenes can all pretty much happen and just play them out pretty quickly.
Yeah. If we wanted to do 2 episodes, we could also do that. Here's my list, if you will, of ones that are alike in a way. So I think Bitch and Amy parallel each other. I think Elle and Theo, in terms of they kind of have a similar personality. It's very subdued.
Yeah.
They kind of are trying to make what's the word, like concessions a little bit with their captor. Like even in attacking Jack Slash with his words, like Theo is feeding into what Jack Slash wanted. So, but I think Elle and Theo are very similar in their arcs or in their chapters to each other. I think Colin and the Noel chapters for how they feel, very much this trapped vibe. And then Regent and Hookwolf in the fact that they are like straight up kind of in the daylight battles. They feel like they're just contests of strength between the two people. Maybe why I had Bitch and Amy was because they were like struggling and they kind of had their houses destroyed in either sense.
Okay, yeah. I like it. Do we want a pair like though, or do we not? Is it like
I still don't see the need to split them into 2 episodes. Like I don't think that does.
These are just ones I have that I feel like thematically vibe well together.
Right.
Yeah.
And so like putting them, I think just having them next to each other in some manner helps a little bit. Honestly, hammering out the order of these, and I have them all split into sections. So for like Bitch, you have like origin, present, and then back at base. Theo is talking with Jack. Maybe Jack tracking Oni Lee to start. Elle has the fight outside and the conversation inside. Colin has talking to Dragon, and then hunted by Mannequin, and then technically waking up in the hospital as well. Hookwolf has training and then talking to Shatterbird. Noel has Dinah waking up, being in the cage, and then going to bed. Regent has Cherish abducting the dude and then fighting Regent. And finally, Amy has finding the letters, fighting Bonesaw, finding the letters, the people leaving, fighting Bonesaw, and then dealing with Vicky. So,
yeah.
Like where you put each of those, I think you can break up each one of them into at least 2 sections with, the exception of maybe Theo's talk with Jack. I mean, you could split that down the middle if you wanted to have them jump around a little bit more. But, if you wanted to split this into 2 episodes, there's a lot of material to work with. But if you wanted to keep it one episode, I think
it fits. Yeah, I think it fits into one. I think a lot of this would end up being condensed a bit just by nature of how things are shot.
Yeah.
But I mean, obviously, again, that's for producers and directors to work out there. We just put the words on the page. But
yeah,
I don't have too much more there. This is gonna be a fun one to kind of write out, kind of explore. Again, most likely going to come back to it a bit in terms of where we want to place this, how it fits into the arcs moving forward, because we do pretty much jump into dealing with them at this point. So, maybe we even move this episode earlier in the timeline, right? So yeah, it'll be kind of fun to play around with as we sort of shape season 2 here.
Yeah. I have a feeling that when you get to the end of season 2, this might be one that you come back to.
Yeah. I think that's quite likely. Well, not the 2.5 hours we promised you all, but I hope you enjoyed it. Alan, any parting thoughts before we wrap us up here?
I'm honestly kind of curious if we did make it to 2 hours. I feel like
we are about to be at. Let's see. Quick math is not my strong suit, but we are. Let's see, an hour and 45-ish.
Okay.
Look at that.
You know what?
Beautiful. I'll take
good
it.
enough.
Actually, a little less.
Ooh. I'll take it.
Less.
Yeah. We got some more time to burn.
Alrighty. I've got some more thoughts about Nicolas Cage as Arms Master.
I was going to say we have we have talked a lot here tonight. A lot of really fun discussions and different ways we can take these chapters.
Such a good
these characters. Yeah, lot of room to play around with. Definitely one where we would really love to hear all of your thoughts. Everyone who's listening here, thank you for listening as always. Let us know. Talk with us here. What do you think? Is this one episode? Is this a full episode's worth of content? Do we need to break it up? Do we need to move these interludes around elsewhere? Thoughts on fan casts? Who you got? Who does Nick Cage play? Etc. Let us know. And again, as always, thanks for listening. Please reach out to us on any of our social media platforms at BrocktonbaybC. We will be picking this up in the next episode with Arc 12, both with the book club and Dissecting Worm. So stick around for that. We only get more intense, and I feel like we're going to say that every single episode from here on out. It only gets worse. But thanks for listening. And Michael, want to play us out?
Thank you so much for listening. Read along with us at parahumans.wordpress.com. We'd love to hear your thoughts. What did you love? What did you hate? Anything you think we missed, etc., as long as it's kind. If you'd like to get in touch, you can find us on Twitter, Threads, Instagram, TikTok, and Reddit at BrocktonbaybC, or click the link in the description. We have a very exciting announcement. We now have a voicemail, 980-999-0438. You can call us, and your voicemail might be featured on one of our episodes.
Do you still have bitter feelings about your ex and no way to get it out? Well, perhaps you could consider hiding it inside a worm-related rant. Tell us all about how Legend broke your heart, or just how Skitter won't call you back. We'll listen and air your grievances at 980-999-0438 on the podcast. That's right. Leave us a voicemail about your sad life at 980-999-0438.
What triggered you?